See, oh.
Welcome to Holistic Kids Show. My name is Zane.
My name's Abdullah.
And my name's Imad.
We're the Holistic Kids, here to educate us kids from the inside out. Kids are getting sicker and sicker.
Kids' brains are getting sicker and sicker.
1 in 6 American children has at least one neurodevelopmental disorder, like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, specific learning disorders, communication disorders, sensory processing disorders, and much more. Serious depression is worsening, with suicide rates among teenage girls reaching a 40-year high. It's horrible.
Horrible.
I
know it's crazy. I had one boy in my class that was completely normal one day, and the next day he started throwing tantrums, really moody, with severe anxiety, unable to focus, and now he is not doing well in school. It's crazy. Like, he's a different person. The teacher just thinks it's a phase he's going through, but I find it odd. How can someone completely change into a different person?
Well, did you know it could be an actual problem?
Really? You don't just think it's a phase?
Is it a phase?
No, it could be. No, it could be something called PANDAS or PANS.
What? He's not a panda or a pan? How is a panda or a pan in school?
No, not an animal. What you cook on. PANDAS or PANS is an autoimmune disease, or when the body starts to attack the brain. And guess what? We are in luck. Today we have a mental health expert in the house, Dr. Roseann Capanna-Hodge.
Hey guys.
Hi.
So glad to be here. You're doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, you're a mental health trailblazer, founder of the Global Institute of Children's Mental Health, and Dr. Roseann Associates, who is changing the world we view and treat of children's mental health. The FORBES magazine called her a thought leader in children's mental health. Her work has helped thousands reverse the most challenging conditions, such as ADHD, anxiety, mood, autism, learning disability, Lyme, and PANS or PANDAS, using a proven holistic therapies such neurofeedback, biofeedback, and psychotherapy. You're the author of the first ever book on teletherapy activities for children and adolescent therapists, or the Teletherapy Toolkit, and It's Going to Be Okay book, in the Get Unstuck Program. So you're featured on dozens of media outlets like Fox, CBS, NBS, NBC, FORBES, and Parents, and the New York Times. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Rosen. We are so honored. We would love to hear your story.
I'm so glad that you have me on. So, my story is this, guys, that when I was 5, my mom's friend asked me what I wanted to be when I was older, and I told her a psychiatrist, which is a medical doctor that prescribes medication for mental health issues. And when I realized it was mostly medications, I changed my mind and said, I want to do talk therapy. I want to help people. And so that is how I got into this world. And during this time, I work with kids. I love working with kids. So I have kids that are moms holding their babies, with adult kids too. And I have been helping people for these 30 years using things like what you talked about, neurofeedback and biofeedback. And you talked about all this media I've been on. I'm really trying to change mental health problems for kids who are struggling, like all those statistics your moms gave you about, suicide rates being at a 40-year high. So, kids are really feeling stressed a lot today. And there's a lot of things that moms and dads can do, which is why we're having this conversation.
That's amazing.
Why is mental health problems on a rise.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons why kids are struggling, right? So sometimes it's things like, you guys and my kids, you probably eat some really healthy, yummy food, right?
Yeah.
I kind of know you do because I see your mom posting on Facebook. So not everybody eats food that has a lot of nutrients in it, right? And you know what nutrients do? It powers up your brain. And it makes your brain work better, makes your nervous system work better. And so that's one of the reasons why kids are struggling with mental health today. Another reason is kids are really stressed out. School sometimes is really hard for kids, and they're doing work that maybe they shouldn't be doing. First graders shouldn't be writing a paragraph at school, but they are. And it can feel really hard for kids. And also we have a lot of technology. We have the pandemic. And we have a big fancy word, 2 words called genetic mutations. So there's an increase in genetic mutations. So there's just like a lot of things going on at once. And we don't have a good mental health system anywhere in the world, but definitely not here in the United States. The people are feeling, crisis. They're depressed and sad and anxious. And so that's really, really what's kind of a lot of things all happening at once, and kids' brains and bodies are just too stressed.
What is PANDAS or PANDA? PANDAS. Do you turn into a panda?
You're so funny. So it's not about a cute bear, right? A cute animal that's black and white. PANS and PANDAS, an autoimmune encephalopathy. Can you guys say autoimmune encephalopathy? Probably not.
Autoimmune encephalopathy.
Hey, good job. So these are conditions where, as your mom said, an infection or a toxin trigger causes the body to have a misdirected immune response where it starts attacking itself. And that produces a wide variety of psychiatric and cognitive symptoms, right? So kids can show things like tics, motor or vocal tics, obsessive compulsive disorder, depression, anxiety, rage, OCD, a lot of different things. And then they can also lose their skills, right? So they can lose their handwriting skills. They might have bladder accidents or frequent urination. They might lose their reading ability or motor skills, a lot of things. And you might see things like separation anxiety. And it's something that's on the rise. About 1 in 200 kids have PANS or PANDAS. And it is, autoimmune encephalopathy doesn't have to have a sudden onset like PANS and PANDAS does, but, it's a medical reason why kids are experiencing distress. And that means that it requires kids to get medical treatment, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and then psychological treatment. All 3 are really important for turning it around. It's a misdiagnosed disease, and I'm grateful to be helping families who are struggling with PANS and PANDAS, and it can happen to anybody.
So what are the common things that you will see if a child has this condition?
Yeah. So so you can see any of those clinical issues, but you would see a sudden onset. So overnight, your child may change. So people will come into me, guys, and they might say, my kid came off the bus and it was like having a different kid. They were full of rage. They were angry, or they might have had OCD. Most people, you see a bit of a waxing and waning, and up and down, they call it. That's what waxing and waning means. Is that a new term that you just learned, waxing and waning? An up and down, right? So you see an up and down of the behaviors. But you can see anything from things like I said, separation anxiety or hallmark of it, or frequent urination. But kids can have what we call internalizer behaviors, where they're worrying and they're feeling anxious inside. Have you ever felt worried inside? But it's like stopping you from doing things. And then on the other side, you can feel like a lot of anger and rage. And it's happening because there is this misdirected immune response that started from an infection. So anytime there is a sudden onset of a problem, It is not normal. And you should always think about a medical source, especially PANS and PANDAS, as possibly being that.
So this kid in my class may have PANS or PANDAS? That's terrible. What can parents do to help with their child's mental health issues, including PANS or PANDAS?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you have a friend in your class that may have PANS or PANDAS, what do you do with friends that might be having a hard time? What do?
You give them help.
You give them help. You still be their friend, right? So you want to make sure you stay in contact with them. I think that's one of the most important things we can do. When anybody's struggling, we still got to give them love, right? We still got to say we care about them. And kids with PANS, their behaviors may be what we call extreme, right? They may be experiencing a lot of distress and maybe kind of scary, but we always want to make sure we stay in contact. You send an email, you get on Discord with them, whatever you're going to do to stay connected, you want to stay connected so they don't feel so isolated. That's super, super important. So what parents can do if they think their child has PANS or PANDAS, right? And if your child had COVID or Lyme disease or Epstein-Barr or herpes 6 or any of these diseases, these viruses or mold or and all of a sudden their behavior changes, you want to think maybe that they're PANS and PANDAS, okay? The first thing they need to do is seek a professional with a lot of training in PANS and PANDAS. If they don't get a professional that doesn't have a lot of training, like just a regular pediatrician, they may not get the right help. People may see this as that the person is crazy, that they had a real mental health problem when it's a medical issue that needs to be treated along with good mental health care. So that is really, really, really important. I think the other thing that people need to know about PANS and PANDAS or any mental health condition is we got to calm down our nervous system, right? I bet your mom does like breath work with you and meditation. Does she teach you about yoga?
Yeah.
Right? Why does she what does she do? Why does she teach you that? What does she say? It's good for your what?
To calm down our madness.
Yeah. Calm down your mind and your body, right? So when we're feeling really stressed out or if you have something like anxiety or depression or PANS, our body starts getting super activated and agitated. And so what we want to do is calm down our nervous system. And that is super important. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's regular stress, you got Zoomitis, right? Who doesn't have Zoomitis?
What's Zoomitis?
Zoomitis is too much Zooming from the pandemic and being on TV, right? Isn't it tough sometimes? Like, did you have virtual school at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little rough, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, he loves it. Right? But he's like, I love it. Some people, so your brain gets tired from too much, being on camera and having to interact. So we want to do things to help calm our brain, calm our body. It doesn't matter what is going on. That is so important for mental health, and every parent can help their kids. Like your mom teaches you about meditation and yoga and healthy eating. These are all things that make your brain work better.
So what kind of foods can help affect your brain?
Yeah. So we have foods that power up your brain, and we have foods that power down your brain. So if you're eating foods with not a lot of nutrients, like you're probably like my kids, you don't even know what these are, like things like Twinkies and Cheetos and junk food. So junk food powers down your brain. You eat that, it may taste good at first, maybe not, but your brain's not going to power up. But when we eat foods that have a lot of nutrients in them, like, foods like vegetables and foods like avocados, healthy fats, nuts, protein, our brain powers up, right? So we're getting those nutrients. Those foods power us up in terms of our neurotransmitter. That's how your brain talks to each other, itself, I should say. And things like healthy fats help your brain to communicate differently. And then proteins keep your blood sugar stable. And many people experience a little crabbiness when they're not eating on a regular basis, right? Have you ever been really hungry and then felt crabby?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So if you're already struggling with anxiety or depression and you miss a meal and your blood sugar goes down, right, you're going to be feel more anxious, more depressed. So regular protein is a great way to keep your blood sugar. And these are foods that power up the brain and really help with mental health.
So what other foods can hurt the brain?
Yeah, so the same thing. So junk food, and more specifically, sugar, dairy, right, and wheat. These are inflammatory foods, and we know that an anti-inflammatory diet helps the brain to learn more, be calmer, and just be in a better mood. We know this through research. So those are foods that you want to avoid.
So what other things can kids start in their lives to help their brains improve PANDAS?
Yeah. So whether you have PANDAS or anxiety or depression or OCD or learning disabilities, whatever is going on. So the first thing we want to do is something your mom's been teaching you, breath work. So when we do the belly breathing, does your mom teach you belly breathing and filling up your air, filling up your belly? So that's there because it's calming our nervous system. And when we calm our nervous system, our brain works better. We feel much more regulated and able to deal with stressors. So that's the most important thing that we can do. And I also do something called neurofeedback. And neurofeedback is an amazing way to help kids with PANS and PANDAS get their brain back, as well as other issues. And it's really cool that astronauts do neurofeedback before they go to space. Do you want to hear what neurofeedback is?
Yeah.
Cool. So you use computers and it helps to regulate your brain. And by watching a movie, okay, the software can tell, because you're hooked up to the computer, you're going to get reinforced by a movie playing or not playing when you produce the healthy combination of brain waves, and the computer will reinforce your brain for producing the right combination. Your brain is regulated, and it helps you with focus, it helps you with stress, it helps you with anxiety, all kinds of things. So I use that a lot with kids with PANS, because kids with PANS can be really angry or difficult and they just feel really awful. So it's a great way to help them feel better about themselves.
Does sleep help a child's brain?
Of course. So maybe you know this or you don't. Do you know that 90% of detoxification occurs when you're sleeping? So yeah. So 90% of the brain's detoxification occurs when you're sleeping. So if you're not sleeping, right, who's ever gotten up to go on a trip really early?
Us.
And you are so tired the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you're going to someplace fun like Disney World or Grandma and Grandpa's or wherever you're going. So if you're not getting enough sleep, you're just not going to be your best self, right? You're not going to learn the same way. You might be a little crabby. You might fall asleep in the middle of the day. And so sleep is so important for mental health, for physical health. We all need an adequate amount of sleep. I know in my book, It's Going to Be Okay, I actually break down how much sleep kids need by age. And kids need a lot of sleep, and they might not be getting it. It's really important to sleep.
So what other things can we do to help a child's brain?
Yeah, there's so many things we can do to help a child's brain. I know I dive into my book, It's Going to Be Okay, and I break down, I have the 8 pillars of mental health. I think the thing that's so important is that when a kid is struggling, a parent has to believe and have hope that there is another way. And I think that's one of the most important things. So many parents are unsure about what to do. They don't know who to trust. And they believe sometimes that medications are the way. And what they need to do is they need to put themselves on top of the pyramid and know that they're in charge of their child's health. But they have to believe and have hope. And I think that's one of the most important things, along with picking a treatment, and hopefully it's a holistic, evidence-based treatment, because there are many, many natural treatments that positively impact mental health. And really sticking with it and having patience and seeing it through is really important.
So, what are the root causes that parents need to look for to help their children's mental health? What tests should a child get to find these root causes?
Yeah. So one of the most common root causes of kids' mental health issues, when we talked about these different reasons why kids are experiencing it, is something, that I mentioned called genetic mutations. And the most common genetic mutation that affects mental health is something called MTHFR. And that MTHFR, you can get tested for it, along with what it affects is how your body uses the B vitamins. And so they test the B vitamins, and they're able to, if you can't process them, they give you a different form where your body can take it up. So I think that's really, really important for parents to know. There are many root causes. Many times it can be physical things that are driving, not just what people think of as they think of brain chemistry. There's a lot of reasons why, and physical problems like infectious disease, genetic mutations, or both can be causing mental health problems. So they definitely need to get that testing. And some of the other tests that they could get if they suspect their child has Lyme disease would be Lyme disease testing, or testing for COVID or Epstein-Barr.
So,
Where can parents go to find answers?
Yeah. Well, they can get your mom's book. They can get my book, It's Gonna Be Okay, which really talks about mental health and all of these things we've been talking about and the sources of mental health problems. You can follow me on social media. Pretty much I'm Dr. Roseann everywhere on social media. I'm even on TikTok, guys, if you want to check me out on TikTok. And you can go to drroseann.com, and that's Roseann without an E at the end. That's where you can get more information.
So, what is one thing parents can do today to help improve their child's mental health?
I think the number one thing parents can do today is to take care of themselves and to do their own self-care. When you take care of yourself, there's a fancy word called co-regulate, and our kids' behavior is often affected by how we're regulating. So if mom and dad are calm and they're funny, like Mr. and Mrs. Hodge, then our kids are more likely to be calm and funny. So it's this subconscious kind of co-regulation, and it's super, super important. And then on top of that, when parents are taking care of themselves, then their kids get to see how important you think your mental health is and what you're doing for yourself, and they get that message too. It's really important to do that.
So, how can people learn more about your work? Please tell us about your new book.
Yeah, so I have this great book that I've mentioned called It's Gonna Be Okay, and It's Gonna Be Okay it's on my coffee mug, guys. It's what I tell every parent who comes to me. So every parent who comes to me, I say, it's going to be okay. And what this book is about is it gives you a roadmap. I call them the 8 pillars to hope and healing. It gives you a roadmap on how to reduce and reverse mental health symptoms. And it's a lot of research. It's about 40 pages of research citations. And it is designed to give parents those tools to take action to help when their kids are struggling, because sometimes kids are sad or angry, and there's a lot of things parents can do.
Any last tips for parents?
Yeah, the basis of my work is this. This is the magic juju that really helps mental health, and I dive into it. And what it is that you have to calm down that nervous system. If you don't calm down that nervous system and regulate it with things like breath work and biofeedback and neurofeedback or meditation or yoga, and come in with new learning, that's the key. That is super, super important. So calm down their nervous system, come in with new learning, coaching, therapy, parenting, and watch your kids' behavior change, watch them blossom, watch them thrive, and stick with it. It's super important for parents to have patience. I know we all think it's a quick fix, but this is how we create lifelong change and success for kids.
Thank you. That was so empowering, everyone. Make sure to follow Dr. Roseann on social media and make sure to buy her book. Thank you so much, Dr. Roseann. Let's recap Dr. Rosann's key points. Us kids need to protect our brains from the inside out. To protect our brains, make sure to.
You need to calm down. We need to calm down our nervous system. Make sure we practice belly breathing. This will calm our nervous system and help our brain work better. Be grateful. As gratitude and feed your happiness. If we always worried about what we don't have, then it's difficult to be happy. We love to sing the thankful song, and we increase our gratitude when we feel like we're getting down. Be mindful of what you eat, as the food you eat can affect your happiness. Eat the rainbow of fruits and veggies, and eliminate any processed fruit, sugar, and processed carbs. Be mindful of how you sleep. Sleep can influence our mood, so make sure you sleep on time.
Always have hope. There's so much we can do to help our brains. Have patience. Find a regimen and stick with it.
Remember that any sudden changes to your child's is a problem.
Yeah, that's true, guys. Anytime you see a sudden change in behavior or mood, learning anything, it's a problem. It means you need to get some help.
Yeah, so seek attention immediately. Wow, Dr. Roseann, that was amazing. Thank you for coming here again, for honoring us with your time.
I'm so grateful to be here. Thanks for having me. It's been amazing conversation. You guys are like professional interviewers. Fantastic job.
It's our pleasure.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zayn Ansari.
I'm Abdullah.
And I'm Imad.
Follow my family and I on social media, Holistic Mom and D, and look out for my mom's book, The Holistic RX, Your Guide to Healing Chronic Inflammation and Disease, the Pandemic Prescription, and the amazing children's book we wrote together called Adam's Healing Adventures. So check it out on Amazon. Yay! Kids need to learn from other kids. Please download our podcast on iTunes and leave a review so other kids and families can benefit. We need to work together to create a healthier future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of The Holistic Kitchen, where kids are empowering kids. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.